Hello, this is Michel Leviathan Sorbet and you are watching a new episode of the Wojennik TV YouTube series. Today I would like to show you a game which will cover a very interesting topic, a topic not very commonly used in wargaming. We will be invading America. All thanks to a new game published by Microgame Design Group back in 2019, and this game is called Live Free or Die: 3 Battles for America. In this game, designed for 2 players by Kerry Anderson, one of those players will control the American forces trying to repulse a foreign invasion. But not only one invasion, because in fact in this game you will find 3 separate games, 3 separate battles. America can be invaded from 3 sides, and all of those battles will be fought on a different map with different invading forces, which will be controlled by the second player. So as you might hear, this is a hypothetical conflict, not a one which really occurred, but one which could have happened. The game, as I said earlier, was designed by Kerry Anderson. The minimum age of the players should be 16 years or higher, and the game should be ended in 120 to 140 minutes. It all depends also on the scenario chosen. Now let's take a look at the components of this game, and at the end a few conclusions, a few final thoughts. Let's go! Here is Live Free or Die: 3 Battles for America. On the game cover, as you can see, the American flag, the name of the game also with the colors of the American flag, and here on the bottom of this cover we have a big American city, as I believe, burning, and in the center of a terrible combat with some chopters flying above it. On the back, as you can see, here we have the final page of the rulebook, because this game is a folio game, so as you can see, just such a cover, on the other side the rulebook. Let's take a look inside and see how those elements enclosed in this bag look like. So the game cover is at the same time also a chart on which we will be placing assets. First of all, the American ones, and secondly the communist. So those are display boxes for available aborted and flown units, and a game turn record track, as you can see, which can take us up to the 7th turn. Then we have the rulebook. The rulebook, as you can see, in black and white, numbering 16 pages. A rulebook which is being divided into 2 parts: the basic rules, the core rules, the advanced game, which, as you can see, is described from page 9, and at the end also we have the scenarios, 3 of them: the Asian invasion, Remember the Alamo, and Southern Discomfort. So this is why we have this information, 3 battles for America, because in fact in this game we received 3 games, 3 separate games, using mostly the same mechanisms described on the first 8 pages of this rulebook. A rulebook, as I said earlier, black and white, with some examples, with some chapters covering, for instance, movement, combat, supply stacking, zones of control, etc. The game maps, we should receive 3 of them, and there are 3 of them. The first one represents a huge city, and this city, this is Los Angeles. So this will be used during the Asian invasion part of the game. As you can see, the battle will be fought inside and in the outskirts of Los Angeles. So we have some ocean hexes, we have some plain hexes, some mountains surrounding this huge city. The second map represents a part of Georgia, because in this scenario we will be fighting the communist forces which took Florida during an assault, an amphibious assault from Cuba. So we'll have Jacksonville, Lake City, Valdosia, etc. Here we have some swamps, we have some forests, some major rivers. So it's a map very different from the first one. And finally, the third one, remember the Alamo represents San Antonio, and here we have also some refineries, some plains, and some other terrain types. So all the three maps are quite different. The common thing is the fact that all of those maps have a hexagonal grid with some numbers on the hexes, which will enable setup and maybe also will be linked to some other mechanisms. We have some roads, we have some towns, some terrain types which are well known from other games. Those terrain types are described on the terrain effect chart because we receive also one player aid. On this player aid, not only the terrain effect chart but also a description of the ground combat units used in the game, a marker legend, and some combat resolution tables used, as I believe, for ground combat and for bombardment, as you can see right here. A nice picture, of course, it's a picture edited, the picture taken on Iwo Jima had been redone, and here we have the communist flag, the USSR flag in place of the American one. Also a second part of the legend describing the unit types used in the game. How those units look like. We receive a lot of counters, in fact 2 counter sheets, but 2 counter sheets with counters of quite a small size, so the number of those counters will be really significant. We have some ground units, but also some vessels, some aircrafts. As you can see, not many information on those counters, up to 3 parameters, maybe 4 somewhere, so not a lot of information on them. With different colors, which, as I believe, will be important in order to clearly see to which side belongs those counters, and also to differentiate the nations used in the game, because we'll have not only American forces but also Mexican forces, Cuban forces, Soviet forces, Polish forces, etc., etc. Many nations, because 3 different scenarios, 3 different types of potential American threats in this game. This counter sheet also contains some additional markers used, for instance, for level dangers, some other which will be used to mark, as I believe, endangered, or not endangered, but damaged oil structures, some other markers used maybe to indicate battle places, cruise missiles, and some spectacular counters which will be, as I suppose, used to mark places hit by weapons of mass destruction. So that's it when it comes to the components of Live Free or Die. Let's pass on to a very short conclusion. Live Free or Die is a game which covers a very unique topic, because it is not a topic which is very commonly used in wargaming. We had several games about the same subject when the United States are being attacked by a foreign force, but this is not a very commonly used topic, so it's quite original and I very like it. I appreciate all the new games which are being published which focus on less known subjects. Of course, this is a hypothetical battle. The USA in the 20th century had never been invaded, Attu and Kiska taken apart. So this is a game which is interesting because of its subject, but not only. The second aspect is that you receive 3 games inside of one game. Great! You will receive 3 separate games, so the replayability of this title will be, of course, much higher. The third aspect, which really intrigues me, is the quality of the components, because, to be sincere, those maps are really retro. While looking at them, I have this feeling that I'm looking at maps from a game published in the 90s, in the 80s of the 20th century. Is it really bad? Well, I do not have such a feeling. I like old games. I think that it's always very important for games to be functional, for game maps to be functional, to be well laid, which nicely placed information. Not always this means those maps are very pretty. And the maps here are not pretty, are not very pretty. But I believe and I hope that they will be functional. I also think that this retro feeling copes well with the subject, because the topic, the invasion of America, and the game itself is set somewhere in the end of the 20th century, back in the 80s, in the 90s. So this is pretty much the same moment. This is pretty much the same moment when those kind of maps were popular. Now, I would like to give you some more thoughts about this game during a future review. So up until then, I hope you will revisit our YouTube channel, verify our other materials. We have some reviews, some unboxings, and I hope that you will return in some time. Have a fantastic day and see you next time.